Hi guys, in this video we will discuss about motional EMF, and as the word suggests, the motional EMF is the EMF induced in the conductor due to its motion in magnetic field. Now we will find out the expression for motional EMF by three different methods, and all of these three methods are very important to understand the basic nature of this EMF. So starting from the method 1. Now you can see that there is a system which is situated in a horizontal plane. This system contains a U-shaped arrangement of wire which is infinitely long, and by infinitely long I mean to say that it is going to infinity. And there is a rod, conducting rod, which is moving on this frame with a constant velocity v. This complete arrangement is placed in a magnetic field which is pointing inside the plane of the screen, and this separation between the rails, or I can say the length of the rod, is equal to L. Okay. Now let us suppose that rod was initially at this position and it has moved by a distance of dx in time dt, and the area of the loop. Now which loop is being created here? So this loop, you can see initially this was the loop and now the loop is this one. So the area of the loop is increasing and therefore the flux of the loop is increasing because the magnetic field is being linked with this loop completely. Okay, so in this complete region there is some magnetic field, but the magnetic field which is linked with this loop, and this is the magnetic flux, it is increasing due to the movement of this rod. Now let us say that the change in area due to the movement of the rod is this one, which this is the shaded part. So this change in area dA will be equal to L dx, and d phi, the change in flux due to this change of area, will be b dA. So d phi will be equal to b into L dx, and the EMF, magnitude of EMF, is equal to d phi by dt. Again, I am not using that negative sign because I am concerned only with the magnitude of induced EMF. So d phi by dt would be b L into dx by dt. Now this dx by dt is equal to the velocity of this rod, and therefore this is BLV. So conclusively the EMF induced is BLV, where B is the magnitude of magnetic field, L is the length of the conductor, and V is its instantaneous velocity. This is very important to note that in this case, in the case which I have shown in the diagram, B is perpendicular to L and they both are perpendicular to V. So it is very important to note that when we write the expression of EMF, that E is equal to BLV, then we should know that this B, L and V are those components of magnetic field, length and velocity which are perpendicular to each other. It is very important to note. Now this EMF is induced in the rod. EMF induced in rod. Why I am saying this? Because the only part which is moving in this circuit is the rod, and due to the movement of that rod, this EMF is induced in the rod. And you should also note that EMF is a scalar quantity. So you should not neglect this fact that EMF is a scalar quantity. Now we will discuss the Fleming's right hand rule in this EMF, which is used to calculate the direction of this EMF. Now according to this Fleming's right hand rule, you should remember that always if you need to calculate the direction of force, then you should use Fleming's left hand rule. And if you need to calculate the direction of induced EMF, then you should use the Fleming's right hand rule. Now, according to this right hand rule, when you stretch your first two fingers and thumb perpendicular to each other of your right hand, then this thumb would be pointing in the direction of motion of the conductor, and this first finger would be pointing in the direction of magnetic field, and this center finger will be pointing in the direction of current, otherwise the positive terminal of induced EMF. Let me explain you how. So let's suppose that there is a situation that there is a magnetic field and there is a rod or there is a circuit which is kept in this magnetic field, and a rod is moving in this magnetic field in this direction. So by using Fleming's right hand rule, you should stretch your first two fingers of the right hand and thumb mutually perpendicular, and you should point your finger towards the screen because the magnetic field is going inside the screen. You should point your thumb towards the motion, I mean to say towards the velocity of the rod, and you will see that your second finger is pointing in the upward direction in the screen. So it means that the positive terminal of this induced EMF would be on the upper side and the negative terminal will be on the downward side. And the equivalent diagram of this circuit will be like that you can connect a battery whose positive terminal is this and negative is this, and this is the EMF, and therefore the current will be flowing in this anti-clockwise sense. So this is how you can use the Fleming's right hand rule to find out the polarity of this induced EMF or the direction of this induced current. Now I will demonstrate the method 2 to find out the motional EMF, and this method will also explain very important factor that what is the parent condition, what is the parent source of the induced EMF in the case of a conductor which is moving in a magnetic field. Now just imagine there is a magnetic field in this complete region, and I have denoted only at single point, and this is understandable that by denoting at a single point I am denoting the complete regional magnetic field. Now this rod is moving in this magnetic field in such a way such that the length of the rod, you can see the velocity of the rod and the magnetic field, all three are perpendicular to each other. And obviously this rod is a conducting rod, and therefore a conducting rod will have free electrons, free electrons inside it. And let us analyze a single free electron. So if this electron is a part of this rod and rod is moving in the magnetic field, therefore this electron should be moving in the magnetic field in the direction as shown as that of rod, and therefore a magnetic force would be acting on this electron. Now we know that by using Fleming's left hand rule we can find out the direction of magnetic force acting on this electron. If you are pointing the first finger of your left hand inside the plane and the thumb would point towards the force and your second finger is pointing towards the velocity, then you will see that the force on this electron would be acting in the downward direction. You should remember that this electron is a negative charge. So by using Fleming's left hand rule, you would be getting the force acting on a positive charge, and you should invert the direction of that force because this charge is a negative charge. So the magnetic force acting on this charge would be in the downward direction. So as the time will progress, these electrons will be accumulated in the downward part of the rod, and therefore the positive charge would be accumulated in the upper part of the rod, and therefore a electric field will also be developed in the direction from up to down, like that. Now this is also the induced electric field. Now if I talk about, if I analyze the electron which is in this electric field, so this electron would be experiencing electric force also in the upward direction, because we know that on a negative charge the electric force is acting in the direction opposite to the electric field. So if electric field is pointing in the downward direction, then the electric force would be acting in the upward direction, and therefore a time will come, as a matter of time, a time will come when the electric and magnetic force will be cancelled out, and when the equilibrium will be established, then Fe will be equal to Fb, and net Lorentz force would be 0, and after that time no further accumulation of electron in the downward region will occur, and the EMF induced in the rod. Why I am saying that EMF will be induced? Because you can see that the upward part of the rod is positive and the downward part of the lower part of the rod is negative. So there is a difference of potential which is created inside the rod, and that difference of potential is known as EMF. So this EMF induced will become constant, and if Fe is equal to Fb, then Fe is QE. In fact, I can say that if it is acting on electrons, then it is EE, and Fb is EV cross B. Now we know that the velocity and magnetic field are mutually perpendicular. Therefore, this expression in scalar form would be E is equal to V into B, where V is the velocity and B is the magnetic field, and E is the induced electric field. Now the EMF, this is the EMF, or it is the microscopic form of voltage. So the potential difference is also equal to the electric field into the length in which this potential difference is created, L, and therefore E will be equal to electric field is E, which is V into B, and the length is L. So the EMF induced in this rod due to its motion will be BLV, and this we have already calculated by the method 1, and this B is the magnetic field, L is the length, and V is the velocity, and these all three are mutually perpendicular. So very important conclusion of this method was that this EMF is also created by some induced electric field in the rod. Okay, and we will discuss this induced electric field in the further part. Now we move on the third approach, which is the vector approach. Now in this approach, which is also vector approach, we will establish a vector relationship between magnetic field B, L and V vector, and we will establish a relationship between them which is equal to the EMF, which is a scalar quantity. We all know that when the Lorentz force, we talk about the Lorentz force. Now I hope you all are knowing the Lorentz force, and if you are not familiar with the Lorentz force, I'll tell you that when some electron or some charge moves in the influence of both electric and magnetic fields, then the total force acting on that charge, the vector sum of electric and magnetic forces, is also called as Lorentz force. Now, as we have already discussed, that when some conductor is moving in the perpendicular magnetic field, then electric field is also induced in that conductor, and that free charge which is inside that conductor will experience both electric and magnetic forces. So the net force, Lorentz force, will be QE plus QVB. But we also know that the EMF induced in that conductor will be saturated or will be stable at the moment when the net Lorentz force will be 0. So in this case, if QE will be equal to minus Q V cross B, then E will be equal to minus V cross B. So this is the relationship of electric field and this velocity and magnetic field. So this is the induced electric field. Now due to this electric field, the potential difference will be induced in the conductor, which is also known as the EMF induced, and therefore we know that the potential difference or the EMF is related to the electric field as E dot dl, where dl is the elemental length of the rod. Now we know that the total length of the rod is L, so EMF will be equal to minus of E, which is 0 to L, which is V cross B, and this minus will be cancelling out and it will be positive, dot with dl, and we can write it as V cross B cross with in fact dot with integration 0 to L dl. Now this dl integration 0 to L will be L, and therefore EMF will be V cross B dot with L. So this is the vector relationship, and you can see that the final product of these vectors will be a scalar quantity, and therefore the EMF is a scalar quantity. You can also write this relationship as E is equal to V dot B cross L, as well as you can also write it as B dot L cross V. So these three relations are equally valid, and you can see that it is following we are displacing the cross and the dot signs in a cyclic order, so it is following a cyclic order. So this is the vector form of motional EMF, and these three relationships are always valid. Now we are discussing some special cases in this motional EMF. The first case is the fact that if the conductor is not a straight conductor, or it is of some arbitrary shape or size, then you can see in the diagram that this is a wire which is not a straight wire and it has an arbitrary shape, and the magnetic field is lying inside the plane of this screen, and the shortest distance between the two ends of this wire is L, and this wire is moving with a velocity v in this direction. So you can see this L, V and B, all three are in perpendicular direction. But as we all know that the equation vector form of this EMF is this one. You can see that this is the vector form V cross B dot L. So when we write that E is equal to V cross B dot with integration of dl, then we can see that when you are adding some vector in a loop or in a vector form, like that, then the sum of all these small dl elements will be the shortest length between the two ends of the conductor. And if it is a closed loop, then the shortest length will be 0, and therefore there will be no induced EMF in a closed loop. So this integration of dl will be the shortest length between the shortest distance between the two ends of the conductor. Now you can replace this conductor with a single conductor of length L, and it is moving with velocity v in the magnetic field which is inside the plane of the screen. So its length is L. So the EMF induced will be directly written as BLV, because in this case all of them are mutually perpendicular. So what is the conclusion of this special case is the fact that when some conductor is given which has an arbitrary shape or size, then we have to calculate the smallest distance between its two ends, and we have to draw an equivalent straight wire among those two ends, and we have to replace that arbitrary shaped wire with that straight wire whose length will be equal to that smallest distance. So this is very important to note, and therefore in a closed loop, in this closed loop, if it is moving with some velocity v in a uniform magnetic field, then EMF induced will be 0, because integration of dl in a closed loop will be 0. So we can say that there is no induced EMF in a closed loop. Or you can also analyze this concept by some other method, that if this coil is moving, then the number of field lines which are entering this coil from this point and the number of field lines which are leaving this coil from this point are same. So the rate of change of flux will be 0, because the rate at which flux is entering the coil and the rate at which the flux is leaving the coil is same. So therefore net rate of change of flux will be 0. So therefore there will be no induced EMF in the coil. Now in this second special case, we can say that if this rod is not aligned to the velocity perpendicularly, so we can do one thing, that either we can write EMF as BLV sin theta, or either we can write EMF as BL sin theta into V. What we have to do, that we have to either find out the perpendicular component of the velocity which is perpendicular to the length. This is V sin theta. So this is perpendicular velocity, this is length, and this is magnetic field. This is magnetic field, this is length, and this is perpendicular velocity, and all of them are perpendicular to each other. So we can directly write EMF as BLV sin theta. Or otherwise we can do one thing, that we can find out the component of this length perpendicular to the rod, and this component will be L sin theta. So this L sin theta can be considered as a rod which is moving with some velocity v, and you can see that L sin theta is the new length which is perpendicular to the velocity as well as to the magnetic field. So EMF can also be written as, this is in fact B, sorry. So EMF can be written as B into L sine theta into V. So conclusively, if the length of the rod, velocity of the conductor, or the magnetic field are not aligned to each other perpendicularly, then you should take the components of those and you should multiply them in a scalar form BLV, where B, L and V are all three components of magnetic field length and the velocity which are perpendicular to each other. So this was the complete analysis of the motional EMF, and in the further next video we will be discussing the applications of this motional EMF. Thank you.